someone like me, it was about 12 or 13 years ago, go to a temple. I probably try to bring a little bit of the flavor of what we're doing in Toronto. Maybe show you some videos, and that can keep you excited a little. And also take any questions people might have. Before we go into the presentation, I'd like to share a story with you all. The first and then she wrote to Maharaj, she asked me to follow up with her. This was my first time calling someone, and I didn't know that person, so I just picked up the phone, I called her. And what's the first thing she told me? Can anyone guess what was the first thing she told me? No. Huh? No, she told me. She's like, I hope this has nothing to do with a religion. I want to have nothing to do with a religion. And she went on about it for a while. I want to have nothing. She's my, she's initiated now, and she's been living in the ashram for many years. But her first few sentences were like, I was like, oh my God, what am I supposed to tell her? But she's just like completely clear, put her agenda out there. And, she studied business. She's highly educated and very clear. She was working with the government. And she's very clear and articulate in what she wanted to say. And she's just like, want to have nothing to do with with religion. And organized religion is a complete no. So it was right there in my face. So as we try to answer the question that is there a need for something like Bhakti Lounge to happen, I want to bring this experience to you all. Maybe, I don't know if many of you have had such an experience, someone telling you right on your face, had that experience? It's not a very fun one, huh? Yeah. So, huh? Yeah, but they're suspicious. So yeah, that's one escape out. But, as we answer the question of, is there a need today, we'll talk about it. Also, we'll talk about what exactly is Bhakti Lounge, because I think a lot of people have a lot of ideas of what this could be. It doesn't, every place has its different audience. Every place has different, setup. So yes, there's different flavors, but we can share with you what we're doing in Toronto and Philadelphia and what really is it. I think Maharaj left off his last presentation at the point of, we make it easy for people to come to Krishna consciousness. We make it easy for people to practice Krishna consciousness and distribute Krishna consciousness. Maybe I'll try to pick it up from there and share a little bit with everybody. And yeah, it would be nice to share some success stories with you all, like what the results have been till now. So as we go into it, okay. So why Bhakti Lounge? The first question about the need, we've been listening to a lot of workshops on marketing, the need, the brand, the positioning, etc., etc. Before we started answering this question in Canada, I think one thing everyone can do for themselves, look around at the Sunday feast, or look around in your temples and congregations. And if you look around and you see that the demographic in the room doesn't match the demographic in the country that you live in, then you may come to the conclusion that there is a need for something like that. Anyone had that experience where they've noticed that the demographics are different? Oh yeah. Okay. And I was overhearing a conversation in the car this morning, like what percentage of Asians are here, what percentage of Indians are here. Yeah, what we see in our temples is completely different. It's like living in Little India. Not the most exciting experience for even Indians today. So that's one question. Then think about the point, oftentimes when we visit centers, people will say that we have a welcoming committee. We have a welcoming committee. We welcome newcomers. We put them on the spot. Anyone here who's a newcomer, put your hand up, and then the person's like, I don't know what I did. And you make the person put their hand up, and then, I don't know, maybe people do it in nicer ways, but it's quite intimidating, Hey, who's new here? You, get up, and we'll get your plates. We may do a little bit of welcoming of the newcomers, but outside of that, outside of Sunday evening welcoming committee, what do we really have for people who are completely new? That's a deep question to ask. And then if you start looking into the generation we are trying to tap into, what is this generation? If I go on Sankirtan, when I go out, what's the latest thing in fashion? Like, there's clothes and there's iPhones and iPads, and what else is latest? It's really cool to tell people, I have ADD. I can't read. And people just can't pay attention. Now, I don't know, I was trying to check with Chintamani, where is she? She's not here. I was trying to check with Chintamani, she's a researcher, but I was trying to look for attention spans of people today, and I was looking online, and I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but it ranges between 12 seconds, to 8 seconds to 12 seconds before you get distracted. And it was actually compared to a goldfish, which is 9 seconds attention span. I'm like, oh my God. So you meet people where sometimes the longest things people have read are text messages, People don't really read books and stuff. You'd see that in your marketing experience, I guess. So that's the generation. Facebook, texting, someone's getting married, someone's getting separated. Oh, whether you're getting dumped or not, you find out on Facebook. So that's the generation you're dealing with. And such a generation constantly needs to be distracted. And they have a lot of those in their life. They have a lot of distractions in their life. And now they're coming into Krishna consciousness for one Sunday evening or one evening. What options do we have for them? So very quickly we realized that there is a need for something outside of us, and outside of just once a week, one Sunday evening. Something more needs to be there. So, okay, 1 second. I have to. Okay. Maharaj actually mentioned about that quote from Srila Prabhupada. Actually, I came across this a few years ago as I was writing Vyasa Puja offering for Srila Prabhupada. This was something Prabhupada wrote to a devotee in Toronto, Shubha Vilas Prabhu. He wrote that, along with restaurants, there can be reading room where all my books can be kept and people can come and come and sit comfortably and read them. And they'll take them as non-sectarian. And I was thinking, it took us so long to understand that. I was having a discussion with Mother Praharna, and I was asking her, and Bhakti Marg Swami also mentioned this, that for about 20 years, 15 to 20, 15 we are 100% sure, 20, I don't know, maybe Satyabhama would know better, but 15 to 20 years leading up to the starting of Bhakti Lounge in 2006, we didn't have a single person who was not an Indian take to Krishna consciousness. Indian or Indian origin take to Krishna consciousness. Single person for 15 years. And that was a shocking statistic. But now if you come to the Sunday feast, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people there. If you come to a programs, you'll see a lot of people have been initiated. None of this we had seen for 15, 20 years. So it's not like, I wouldn't say we are inventing something completely new. It's not that you're inventing something. Vaisheshika Prabhu always tells us, he says, where attention goes, energy flows. So we're just choosing to pay attention to something. And there's some shocking statistics that started to come out, like this 15, 20 years, nobody has taken to it. And then there's 8 universities in downtown Toronto. I'll show you a map of Toronto in a bit. But 8 universities, big universities, some of them have 40 to 50,000 students. I know it's not too big for US, but for Canada, that's big. So many students in the university, but nobody's tapping into it. We started to see that there was some sort of a gap, there was a divide, and we needed to focus on doing something for this audience. So the conclusion, which is really obvious, is that there was a need to reach out. Now, before I go into this, what is a Bhakti Lounge, etc., any questions at this point in time about the need in your area? If those of you who are probably thinking about the need aspect, anything at all that comes to mind, anything you want to share at this point in time about the need? Okay, looks like everyone's in agreement about the need. So what is Bhakti Lounge? It's a place, it's a community where we try and get people to come to Krishna consciousness, like we said, distribute Krishna consciousness and practice Krishna consciousness. A place, meaning there has to be a facility. It can't be, in a room in a temple. It's really hard to isolate people and make them feel like they're in their space. So that's the theme I'd say, maybe focus in on. How do you make someone feel like this is their place? I was trying to tell you my story a little bit. Maybe I'll tell you a little bit more of it. There is a need for a facility where someone can come and zero in on you and care for you. I know when I came to Krishna consciousness, I wasn't prepared to even study the Bhagavad Gita. That was so crazy. I remember someone had to actually read it to me for a while. Someone from Bhakti Lounge. So that's the extent to which the care had to go. Someone had to actually read it with me and entertain my mind with it, and then again encourage me to read it. And Maharaj was mentioning about people don't know how to cook. I didn't know how to cook. And I was so used to eating outside. Someone had to come to my work. I was living in Australia at that time. Someone had to come to my work with food. Please try to have that. And I would just be, a little bit, I don't know, but they'll keep bringing it again and again and again. And then suddenly you start to get a taste for it. And suddenly you start to realize someone's caring for you. So from being a guest to feeling so important that you feel like you're this person's best friend, that really makes a change. Like Maharaj was saying, the point about people getting comfortable with you. So to me, that was a point. There came a point in my my bringing up in Krishna consciousness, that I realized that there was nobody else wanting to listen to me as much as these devotees are willing to listen to me. And I was like, they're actually interested in my life. Because think about it. I mean, if I tell you my story, I was 21. I had all the money that I wanted and more. And, I had the career that I wanted, and I could do whatever I wanted to do with it. And I had a lot of friends, and there was a lot of social life. And you want to leave all that. Such an important thing. You want to leave all that and come over and take to a simple life. Why would you do that? You need someone who's more special than all of that. So one big thing was the person. The person made the most difference. You can have the facility, you can have leadership buy-in and everything, but somebody has to be there who's going to be your best friend. And even till date in Bhakti Lounge in Toronto, we see the same thing. When people come to the point that they start to feel that you're their best friend, that's when they take to Krishna consciousness. So we have to make it easy for people to come, and I'll show you something here. 3 aspects of making it easy for people to come. Number 1, I think someone was just asking me about, what if we did this in the suburbs or someplace away from the city? And it's really difficult, actually. I went through this kind of a mindset in Toronto before we were renting our current place. And accessibility is number 1. And we decided to talk to some of our guests. And one of the things that we found is this young students, they don't want to spend any money on even buying a subway pass. We have subways in Canada, so public transport. They don't even want to buy that. Everything within walking distance or biking distance. So everything's got to be really close and accessible. No one's going to go away and come to something, 20 minutes away or half an hour away. So location's really, really important. So we'll talk about that. I'll show you a map of Toronto. This is downtown Toronto. And if you see here, you can see Bhakti Lounge is here. This is all within 10 minutes of walk. And you can see here, Bhakti Lounge is right next to Ryerson University. I'd say it's probably the 2nd biggest university in Toronto. You've got Bhakti Lounge there, and you have University of Toronto, maybe about 20 minutes walk away. You see it up on the top? Maybe 15, 20 minutes. I'm a slow walker, so 15, 20 minutes maybe. And then you have Kensington Market somewhere here. It's like the hip area where you'll see all the new age people and people, who want to buy organic stuff and smoke a lot of marijuana. They hang out here. And they buy a lot of books. And then you go over to OCAD University. This is like an art and design university. Again, people who are extremely favorable because they're artists. And the last thing artists want is structure and organization and stuff like that. And when they go to school, that's exactly what's posted on their heads. And they're super stressed out. They love the books. They'll take the books. They'll come to the programs. So we have that. And then there's another college here, George Brown. And Eden Center here is probably the biggest mall you can find in Toronto. So you can see it's right in the heart of the city that the center is located. So you've got to find a location that is extremely accessible. So people can just walk in, or they can just walk by. And then almost like in the area, you'll find, sometimes we go on Sankirtan, we'll meet people, we'll give them a card. And yeah, we've heard about you from our friends. They've heard about us because there's a whole buzz in that area. So accessibility is important. And you can look at the pictures here. I thought I'd get you some pictures. As I looked at these pictures, the word that comes to my mind is plug in. That's the kind of place you want. You want somewhere where people can just feel like they can come and plug in to the scene. It's really important, the colors that you pick, the way you set up the place. It just, like Maharaj was telling the story of Srila Prabhupada saying, there has to be chairs, people can sit in and do lectures on and listen to lectures on. And I know that, and Maharaj was saying that devotees, everything's on the floor, right? So it's funny because when we started Bhakti Lounge in this current location, even the previous location, we thought we had nice paint and everything. But anyways, we painted the building orange, the room orange, saffron, because, you know, it's so nice and pure. So we put it all over the walls. We had no couches because we wanted to keep it simple and everything. And we really went all out Sankirtan. We've got to do this every day. So we had the new place, we painted it orange, and we would no cushions, nothing. Just like thin little cushions we got from IKEA. It was really bad. And we couldn't understand why so many books were going out. People were coming into the door, but why weren't they coming back? And one night it struck me because it was peak winter time. We had really bad heating too. A bunch of guests were holding candles in their hands to stay warm. I was like, something needs to be done about this now. So fortunately for us, we had Kosharupa Mataji come by, and she's really an expert at colors and choices and schemes like that. And we started to understand that there is such a thing as ambience of the place. We need to create an atmosphere where people want to come back. What was happening is we hadn't set it up in a way that anybody wanted to come back. They liked the books, they would come, but they wouldn't come back. So, you know, now what happens is people will come, and maybe the first or the second time, you know, the natural question someone's going to ask is, what can I do here? What can I do for you? Is there something I can do? And all kind of people, and this is another thing it's hard to kind of put a pace on myself because it's exciting to talk about it. But this is another challenge because we can't just send everyone off to the kitchen. Like, for example, someone might come to you who's a PhD in psychology. Someone might come to you who is a really exceptional artist and very obedient, but maybe not wanting to, you know, not fully satisfied if the person's not got something related to art to do. And so people are coming, some people come in who are marketing professionals, and they want to do just that because they want to feel like they're contributing in some way. They're offering to Krishna what they have. So we have to constantly, this is one challenge that I think, we have to constantly figure out ways, dynamic engagements for people. So there has to be a scene where they feel like they can just come in and say what they want to do. And Kalakant Prabhu was saying to me, like, we have to create an atmosphere where people feel it's okay to make a mistake. And that's so important. That is so important. And if I'm doing any kind of arti and there's one mistake, you're so nervous, I don't know what I did. But people need to feel like they can make a mistake, they can contribute. There's one of our guests, he really likes to make tea. He just really likes to make tea. He likes to bring, he can't figure out why that is, but he just likes to bring together a lot of different blends of teas and just mix them together, and he has a name for everything. And he's very, very sincere. And he bought a book and he started coming to Bhakti Lounge, and you know, that's what he wants to do. He wants to contribute to Krishna consciousness by making tea. And every time, like, even if there's 40 people, can I go and make some tea? We, of course, don't let them cook on fire when they're completely new, but, you know, we explain the entire thing to him, comes up. Every time he'll get a bunch of things. He now knows it has to be caffeine-free. He now knows he can't put it on the gas, but he can put it all together. So that's his contribution. And he's been doing it for a while. And funny thing, we had a retreat recently with new people, and he came to the retreat, and he hadn't chanted before, and he hadn't seen deities before. But that's what we do in the retreats. We, you know, encourage them. So he went for the morning program. It was in Gita Nagari. He comes up to my room after that. I got it. I was like, what happened? I got the taste. The taste. I know what you guys are talking about. We were trying to explain to him, you know, the taste comes from the consciousness. You need to chant your rounds before you cook or something. I got the taste. I know what you guys are talking about, the taste. He's a young boy, you know. So the heart is sweet, but we need to figure out and have an atmosphere where people feel they can do what they have to offer. People don't feel valued in this world. You know, it's a real fact. Most people, their lives are lacking. I mean, I can talk for myself. I just didn't know what I was going to do with my life. There's one thing to come for an evening, but there's another thing to come to the point where you start telling that I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And then for such people, we need to have an atmosphere where they feel like this is what I want to do for my life, you know. So it's a plug-in atmosphere. And I had this picture here especially. I don't know if this has a laser pointer, but this picture here, we notice the people who come and cook with us, they really take to Krishna consciousness. So we'll show you more of that, but just to give you a feeling, like we open, we invite them to the kitchen, we ask them to chop up, and they love it. They even come for 4 hours. Sometimes we do some catering, and they'll come and help for a couple of hours, 3, 4, 5 hours. They'll come and help. They want to be a part of something, because most people are a part of nothing these days. Nothing, actually. People actually, I'm starting to explore some editing, indexing, things like that. I was actually seeing if you want to be a part of a simple thing as indexing club or something like that, any kind of a club, you've got to pay membership for that. So people can't even afford to be, you can't, these are things even MasterCard can't buy. You can't be a part of anything. So people, when they find a place that they can be a part of, they really, really love it. I have some videos for you all about people speaking for themselves about it. So I'll keep going with it. And Maharaj mentioned a little bit about how we want to do direct and indirect nights, right? So that's what we do. We do direct. We're not changing the philosophy at all. So for example, we have indirect nights, and we try to use different posters and creative things. Again, these are made by people who would come to Bhakti Lounge for programs. It's not something that a bunch of devotees in a closed room are producing. These are people who come. They'll come in and I'll be like, why don't you prepare a poster? Or why don't you write a description for the event or the topic at hand? So anyways, these are our indirect nights with kirtans, vegan cooking classes, yoga programs. And if you notice, all of these programs are paid for. So, everyone pays $10 if they come to Bhakti Lounge, and they'll pay for the food and everything. Sometimes they pay more too, but at least $10 to get in. And they can do it all online, So you've got to be a little bit high tech. Make sure people can do that. And what else do I want to mention about it? Yes, sometimes generally we have kirtan once a week, and that's, interestingly enough, the most popular program we have. The room fills up, 20 people, 25 people, they just pack up the room. So you can see people from all backgrounds coming in and just chanting Hare Krishna. We make sure there's at least 25 to 30 minutes of chanting of Hare Krishna and bhajans, Vaishnava bhajans. So that's generally the program. The goal is that through these indirect programs, we want to gently push people over to the direct nights. So people can get curious about, so why, they'll get curious sometimes. They'll be like, what do you guys do they'll come on Tuesdays, which is the indirect night, Wednesdays and an indirect night. But then on Friday nights, we have Bhagavad Gita. So they'll hear about it. What do you guys do on Friday night? And we'll tell them, it's a really cool evening, come. And after they've been coming on indirect nights for a while, they'll come to the Bhagavad Gita nights. Obviously, there's people who buy a Bhagavad Gita from the street. Like Maharaj was mentioning, book distribution is the life and soul of the program, literally. So many people buy a Bhagavad Gita and come straight to the Bhagavad Gita night. We don't block that way. Basically, someone might be ready for the Bhagavad Gita night, can come right away, but those who are not ready can also be gently brought over. So those are our indirect nights. And also we have university indirect nights. We tried on campuses to do Bhagavad Gita programs and stuff, but what we noticed was people had already heard too many lectures all day, so they didn't really want to hear classes. But when we did cooking classes, my friend Shama Mohini, she used to do cooking classes, and they'll be packed with 20 people, one after the other, so people would turn up for that. And again, even on campuses, people pay. Nothing is free. Nothing is free. And then we have vegan lunches on campus. People love food. Like if you can bring big memories of it. We could really work on making that better. Right now we're at bake sales. We'll just do bake sales. Have cookies, samosas, muffins, things like that. All vegan and healthy. Sometimes we keep gluten-free there too. People are very health conscious. Especially the kind of people who will come to alternative lifestyle, they're very health conscious. They're not, you'll be surprised, I'd say maybe 60-70% of the people who come to Bhakti Lounge, they're already vegan. And they're not even vegetarian anymore, because if they look at it, from a material philosophy point of view, they go straight for vegan. So there's many people who are coming, they're vegan and vegetarian. So we serve vegan lunches. And we have yoga nights on campus. So on campuses, we do different kind of programs, yoga nights, meditation nights. And we are on campus. We call ourselves Bhakti Yoga Club. We don't go as Bhakti Lounge there. We go as a part of the student body. And then for people who have been coming to this university programs, we push them along to Bhakti Lounge. We'll drop a hint. Why don't you come on the other day? If you like the yoga so much, we have more yoga. And we have a special deal for students. Because when students come to Bhakti Lounge, they get $2 off or $3 off or something like that. So they feel a lot of value in that. So these are all our indirect nights. And here. And then there are direct nights. As you can see, direct nights are also a bit of work. We just don't tell them it's chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita today, chapter 2 today, verse number 5, 6, 7. No. We pick the themes from the Bhagavad Gita. Actually, Maharaj had said to me when we started this, I didn't even, actually I have to say this, Satyabhama taught me how to give a Bhagavad Gita class the first time I had to give it. I didn't know what to do. And Maharaj had said, pick a theme from the Bhagavad Gita and present it. I didn't know what to do. But over the time, we've evolved it a little bit. We pick themes like pleasure. Everyone's interested in knowing how to be happy in this world. So really pick on that mentality and get someone their age to make a poster. So this is one of the girls from Bhakti Lounge. She's literally drawn this on a piece of paper and made it so cool. I mean, I like it. I don't know about you guys. You like it? You'd see something like that and come to Bhakti Lounge, wouldn't you? Yeah. You see Bhagavad Gita chapter 1. Not everyone will turn up. So yeah. And then that one, this flyer, we use it both in Philly and Toronto, and we saw a good response from it. It was give me, this whole mentality of give me more. I was noticing a lot. We look at a lot of newspapers and magazines and try to see what kind of things are bothering people. And one of the key trends is everyone wants more. So just pick on those themes and then give them a twist from the Bhagavad Gita. So that's what we try to do on Friday nights. And I have to say one thing though, a lot of what happens at Bhakti Lounge is outside the events. The events just get people attracted. But then after that, you need to work with people. You really need to work with people. So if they come to the Bhagavad Gita night, maybe 2-3 times, then I'll start meeting with them personally, a couple of times a week, maybe once a week. And then you have to show them how to chant. Then you have to chant with them. Then you have to call them over. So it's really a lot of hand-holding, a lot of it. Because people, I was listening to Maharaj when he said, like, somebody would read Bhagavad Gita in 3 days and come. I don't know who would do that today. Like most people just cannot get themselves to sit down and read. And that whole thing about move the page, the next page over, it's real. It's real. Every once in a while, people are like, oh, I was reading the Bhagavad Gita from chapter 1 to chapter 2, and then I decided maybe I'll just go from whichever page I open up, and that's nice, and we'll go for that. And you have to explain to them how not to do that, and how you have to prepare your consciousness, and go from chapter to chapter. So it's a lot of hand-holding, a lot of hand-holding. So 80% of the work gets done outside the events, 80% of the work. And we've got to have Vaisheshika Prabhu, I keep quoting him because he's been teaching us Sankirtan and he's been coming to Toronto for so many years, it's just set in our consciousness. But he says you have to get organized. It takes organization and intelligence to get something done. And marketing, we need to have a strategy for what we're going to do. Where are these people who we want to come to Bhakti Lounge? Where do they hang out? Where do they get their information from? The moment you say something to them, they'll go and Google you first. They'll check you on LinkedIn next. They'll check you on Facebook. They'll check all your history. They want to know everything about you before they talk to you. So it's a different kind of a generation, and they're looking for things to do. They're looking for places where they can find socially interactive things to do. So we have to have, besides the fact that we have to have a great website, it can't be our main temple website. It has to be a great website. Besides the fact you have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and these things, they have to be updated every day. This is what was happening at Bhakti Lounge. How many people here use Instagram for center updates and stuff? Yeah. In your centers, yeah? In your centers, you've got, not many people. Instagram is just you take a picture of what's happening and you post it out there. I also didn't know about it. Some of the younger devotees explained it to me. Yeah. So you have to do these kinds because people want daily updates. That's their attention span. You have to grab them in the 8 or 9 seconds they have to pay attention to you. So you have that. But just that isn't sufficient. We actually have a whole marketing database that we've pulled together with all the different websites people visit, all the places where you can post events, paid and unpaid. We've got a fairly good one for Toronto, but we're also building one for Philadelphia where we're trying to, have a whole bunch of things where we can promote events. So people know. Sometimes we get reporters at our programs, not some big fancy reporters from the Times or anything like that, but we get people. Magazines will send their people in, and they'll take footage and they'll put stuff about it. And this way our online presence actually really increases. I've noticed that this is really critical in filling up the room. But I have to say, in all the few years that I've done this for, I've seen that 100% of the people who are taking the Krishna consciousness are the people who are coming from buying our books on the street. Sankirtan, buying books from us? Yeah, most of them. Rare soul has heard Srila Prabhupada's lecture on YouTube and come. But other than that, almost everybody in the room who comes back has bought a book. But this does help fill up the room, so that those few rare souls who come into the room with the book, they don't feel like they're isolated. Rarely have I seen people from these avenues come and, start taking to Krishna consciousness. Very rarely, maybe one time I've seen that. But it is important. I just want to make sure nobody here feels like you do this really good, it will replace the Sankirtan. It doesn't. It just doesn't. You don't get the same quality of people from these kind of avenues, but they're necessary at the same time. So, did I go back? No. Okay, I went forward. Sorry, this is really confusing. Yeah, like I was mentioning a few slides back, prasad is a real killer. It's first you get people by the tongue, and once they're really interested in the taste of it, then you ask them, then they want to know how to make it because they do not know how to cook. Nobody knows how to cook. Then they find out you have recipes, and then they want their hands on the recipes. They'll write emails to you asking for them. So you call them over to the kitchen. So prasad is a real process and an experience. Devamrita Maharaj had said to us, as an instruction, he had said, make prasad a memorable experience. So we really try to meditate on that point that how can we make, am I off on time? Okay, cool. We really try to focus on the point that how to make prasad something really, really cool for people. Now what I'll do is show you a few of the menus. You can see there's no rice, dal, puris here. These are some of our all menus are prepared. All people have groceries, but no one goes creative in the kitchen. You follow recipes, you make something, and something good comes out of it. So I'll show you one video. Could you play that? This is from our guest, the first video. I'll show you 2 videos if I can. There's no volume.
This place is a real forced calm for me, and I leave feeling a bit more clear-headed and kind of more able to deal with the overwhelming fast pace that will resume first thing tomorrow morning. I'd also say that I'm definitely spiritually seeking at this point, and I find that every organized religion that I've explored has a lot of dogmas involved with it, and there's always you have to buy the whole package. You can't really pick and choose, as opposed to this place where it sort of allows you to just pick and choose what works for you. And yeah, there's no judgment.
The Bhakti Lounge, there's so many things about it. The environment, the warmth and welcoming atmosphere, as well as the people. It's so inviting. The food is out of this world, literally.
So how Bhakti Lounge helped me facilitate my spiritual life was teaching me the difference between matter and spirit. Really, there hasn't been a question here that I've asked yet that hasn't been given like an answer that has made sense to me. So that's one way that it's helped my spiritual development.
What keeps me coming back to Bhakti Lounge is definitely the association with the devotees. The devotees are really lovely. And kirtan for sure. I really like meeting up with people Whenever I have deep questions that need to be answered, I always go to Mangalarti, and she's always there and willing to answer my questions. We've read together before, done kirtan, of course, and all of these things really help to strengthen my faith and strengthen my devotion and my practice. So I first found out about Bhakti Lounge by meeting Mangalarti on the street when she was selling books, and we really connected, and I really felt a really genuine quality to her personality, and it really, really intrigued me. And I bought a book because I was very interested in spiritual questions at the time. And one of my friends had also bought a book around the same time and heard about Bhakti Lounge, so we decided to come at the same time for a kirtan night one night. And we came, and I just loved it. And I've been coming back ever since then. It's very intellectually stimulating, but also a very peaceful place, and a place that feels really good to be in.
Life is so fast-paced, and this place is a real...
This was one video. There's another one that's 2 minutes, the one about the main team, that one. So just before we start that, just one last video for you all. I wanted to get some of the people to speak in their own words what they like about it. And now what you'll see is those people, like Maharaj was saying, people who come, they're the ones who take to Krishna consciousness. So when we started this whole thing off, we didn't really have a team, you know. But over the years, the people who have been coming to our programs, they have become our staff members. And they are now living in a ladies' ashram and a men's ashram. So there's just some comments from them on how being a part of Bhakti Lounge helped. I think that would help me more than me saying more. So just want to play it briefly. And
I'm still in high school. I'm 17. I had a bit of a difficult situation at home. I remember actually one instance when I was just moving out to move into the ashram at Bhakti Lounge. Two senior Vaishnavis were trying to help me in my game plan to talk to my parents, and they were like, "Is there anyone in your home you can trust, for sure?" And I actually really had to think about it. The answer ended up being the drug addict in my basement that lived in my basement. That was my source of trust. That was my sense of security in the home. So it was not very protected. When I started coming, and immediately I got personal association from devotees, hey, we should read together, hey, we should chant together, do all these things. I'll show you how you can be Krishna conscious.
They answered my questions, dealt with my anarthas, gave me personal care, personalized service, steady devotee association, steady service roster, association of pure devotees. I actually had a Bhagavad Gita as it is, and I'd met devotees before, and I'd experienced kirtan, all of which were having an effect on me, but I don't think that I would have been able to get over my doubts without having my questions answered by the association of devotees who had taken seriously Srila Prabhupada's instructions and were living it, and being able to see them in different contexts, not just at formal programs. But
this is an education center for adults or young people who already think that they're educated. And I really required a new education. With the other ladies that I live with in the ashram here, we are able to actually sustain ourselves consistently and steadily in our progress and advancement, and I find that very rare and very important.
I remember when I first came to Bhakti Lounge, I was so quickly engaged in distributing Prabhupada's books, but that wouldn't have been the same if I was in a center that wasn't so personal, that gave a lot of attention to particular devotees, because I know people need a lot of attention, especially in the beginning stages of Krishna consciousness. So therefore, this Bhakti Lounge made it a lot easier for me to be able to engage and relate with devotees and people around than to be in a center that was overwhelmed.
That's pretty much all of it that I had for now. There's more to the video, but I can share it with you guys later. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And now the next part of our schedule says for the next half hour there's a break, and also there's a kirtan in the temple room. So enjoy your break and be back here exactly at 2:15, or a minute before at least, and then we'll start discussion on contact Sankirtan. 2:15.